He's brain dead. You need to let him go. You need to let him go. So she had signed the papers to take out his feeding tube so he would have no nutrition, so he would die of starvation, electrolyte imbalance, etc. would happen. And they told her to make him no code. So if he, had another cardiac incident, nobody would go in and try to revive him. So basically it was a death sentence. Now, for patients who know me, I'm probably the most, I make that guy, what was his name? House. I make House look weak. I make Mr. Spock look weak. I'm a better Vulcan than Mr. Spock. And I think you can speak for that. Is that true? I still sort of stay very scientific and, harsh. Am I like that? I'm asking you.
Yeah.
You're not?
So, I mean, Vikki, as you know, this is our first broadcast, and I'm getting an internet connection.
What?
I'm getting a warning alarm for the Skype saying internet connection problem. Why I'm getting this, I don't know, because you and I are obviously able to communicate, and I think that the broadcast is going on okay. But I just want, so now we're back live again. But yeah, okay. you are like, fine. We'll have to check this broadcast afterwards, make sure everything's good. But I agree with what you're saying as far as
my behavior.
Yes.
Okay. So I decided that this is pretty bad because the neurologist came in the next morning. Now, I've been in brain surgery and, all kinds of surgery. And there was no way you're going to know whether a stroke victim, is going to, their future, 6 hours after the stroke. It isn't going to happen. You can't do it. You have to do basic studies. You have to scan the brain. You have to do studies. So I knew something was fishy and wrong. And then in my usual way, and House, you should have learned this one, I wrote a fax to the police department in Wisconsin saying that I needed them to go to Mount Sinai because it's an attempted murder going on there right that minute. And I called the hospital. I sent the fax to the hospital. And basically I said directly, you cannot diagnose the things that Miss Schuster, Lillian, was told in order to stop feeding her husband, in order to make him no code. You can't make that diagnosis by a neurologist walking in the room in the morning. That doesn't work. That's not science. That's not medicine. So there was hysteria because no one had ever done that. And probably those listening and doctors who, never have heard of it either because no one's done it. So the hospital put the feeding tube back in, right? And they put him code again, and they gave him care. Now, what had happened was DRG. This is what I call DRG death, and this is very important because Human and Health Services probably doesn't know about it. Inspector General doesn't know about it. You guys out there don't know about it. Newspapers don't know about it. They don't know how it really works. So what DRG said, okay, Mr. Schuster has 8 days to have his mitral valve. We'll pay for 8 days in the hospital after his operation for his mitral valve, but nothing more. So what DRG does, it puts a limit on the amount of money to pay for somebody in the hospital. Got it? Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened was the hospital got notice, no more money. It's going to come out of your pocket. So you're going to be paying, the hospital's going to be paying for all of his care after that point. And they didn't want to do it. And this is common across the country. They don't want to pay for the care if the DRG time has been used up. So I did a paper, which I hope we'll find, and I sent it all over the country. I gave it to congresswomen here in California and Watson and Waters. I did whatever I could to try to explain that this was happening in the nation, that we were killing people because of this DRG program, and that people didn't understand it or know it. Family didn't know. I mean, Lillian signed, his death sentence, thinking she was doing the right thing. They didn't know what the system was, how corrupt the system is, and that this is a common issue. Now, all of a sudden, this week, I get a call from an old patient. Her name is Tridella Collins. And she tells me this horrific story about where she lives. She lives out in the wilderness. Like, she grows Christmas trees for a living. And she's out in the wilderness, and it's called Yakima, Washington. And there's an Indian tribe, the Yakima Nation, that I'm trying to reach right now. So here's another crime that happens all the time. Fire departments want to train their fire people. So what they do is they pick something that's laying out somewhere, a home, a cabin, junk left, in land, and they go and burn it. And then they teach the firemen and women, fire women, how to control a fire. Well, how do you control a fire? So across the nation this goes on, but they don't go out beforehand and look for toxins. They don't look for toxins. So what they were burning was a 1970s large trailer home that had asbestos flooring and asbestos ceiling. So they do this big fire. There's 3 days of ash falling, and it's asbestos ash falling. This woman gets sick and chronically ill from January. It happened on January 15th. And so by now, she can't function. She can't breathe, her lungs. And she's lost a lot of weight. She looks like she's dying, okay? She looks like death. So she goes to the hospital. They don't report the toxic issue. She tells them what happened. They don't report it at all. They don't call the EPA. They don't call the fire department. They don't call the county. They do nothing. This is a hospital. It's called Memorial Hospital in Yakima, and Virginia Mayo Hospital is its new name. So they admit her, they do a biopsy, and they tell her that she has small cell carcinoma in her lungs, and she's going to die. Now, this is a non-smoker, holistic kind of vegetarian, one of those people, who are pretty strict. I don't want any medicine. I don't want any of this. Never did drugs. So they put on her, because she, when I did her surgery, I gave her Toradol. I never use narcotics, if I can. I stay away from narcotics. I just think they're terrible for people. So she has on her armband, allergic to narcotics. She gets deadly ill. What do they give her? Guess the drug they give her. Guess.
Fentanyl or?
Fentanyl, morphine, yeah. So then her legs blow up, and right now she's got elephant legs. And a policeman, Gonzalez from the Yakima Police, I tried to get him to look at her legs, and he wouldn't do it. And he was called in to haul her out of the hospital and get rid of her. Haul her out and dump her. It's called dumping, hospital dumping.
So who was ordered to dump her? A policeman?
The hospital did. Yeah, the hospital called the police to come and dump her. Before that, there was an incident in the hospital at this Virginia Mayo Yakima Memorial Hospital, and with the first time, this has been going on for a few days, I haven't slept, okay, trying to keep this woman alive. So the first time I get the call, the doctor, he's a hospitalist, but he tells her, I'm a pulmonary specialist, and he's no pulmonary specialist. He's no pulmonary specialist at all. He's a hospitalist. He goes around, seeing people in the hospital. But he's not a pulmonary specialist. So I look up because I've been working with the U.S. Army Pathology Department for decades. And often I get a pathology report and I'm suspicious about it, so I send it to the U.S. Army. And they say, no, it's wrong. It could be other things. So I'm wondering, could asbestos from a fire, a fire and ash, could that look like small cell carcinoma? So I find a really great surgeon at the University of Washington in a real medicine place where I could talk to somebody, and I put in a transfer. I put an official transfer to transfer her from this Virginia Mayo Memorial Hospital to a university medical center where I know that, she'll get decent care and they're not going to throw her out and they're not going to give her morphine when she has an armband that says allergic to narcotics, which they already did. So what they do is they take her and discharge her and have a guy take her in a car and drop her off in the street. Like trash. And they're telling her, I think his name is Adrian. It's in the paper I wrote, which we'll publish today or tomorrow. Today's almost over, so they'll probably publish it tomorrow. So anyways, she gets thrown out in the street. Now, this is a woman they're telling she's dying of small cell carcinoma. She has no place to go. She can't go back to her toxic house. She already knows now, that it was really toxic. And then I find out that the fire department never gave notice, so the Indian reservation never knew that they were going to burn. The people who own the land there were never told. There was no evaluation for toxins before they burned. And then the next thing was there was no cleanup. So they didn't even go back to clean up the ash and the filth that was made. So, of course, what do? I call the EPA, and I've got to call into them, and they have experts, and I'm still waiting. It's days I've been waiting. But it's a weekend, so I can understand the problem. But they have experts in this kind of toxicology that can give me more information on what it can do, asbestos, to the lung from fire. But also, I inform them that this is a common practice across the nation to do these burns without notice, without toxic evaluation before, and then without cleanup. This is what goes on. So it's like crime after crime all week. And you're trying, like, as one person to help somebody. So tomorrow it'll all go to a major law firm that does class actions, and all the information, we'll be able to put out on the web. But basically, dumping is real. And I sent documents to you and documents in my paper to show in Los Angeles, hospitals were doing this right and left until the city attorney took action. And when the city attorney took action, they sued the hospitals. One of the cases got $500,000, had to be paid for. They were throwing people on the street in their hospital robes, Susan. They would call cabs. They would give them coins to go on a bus. The stories are horrific.
I've been researching the past couple days about the issue of patient dumping, and it's really serious, and it's a horrendous crime, and it's happening by hospitals, by nursing homes, there's a whole range of hospital dumping that
is very, and we don't see enough of it. I'm going to send this to Oprah. I'm going to send it to Dateline, to Marianne Haggerty. I'm not going to send it to 2020 because 2020 was the one who had some guy pretend to be me on air once, which was crazy. So this is very serious and real. Right now, she was readmitted to another regional hospital because she was staying at a mission, and the mission thought she was dying. A nurse, Karen, who was at the last hospital she was in, wouldn't even look at her, wouldn't pull up her pant legs to see the edema in her legs, that she was very likely in congestive heart failure, and just told the police, get her out of here, take her away. That's what they did. Now, luckily, the policeman, because I made it clear that this was not right, that it was a criminal act that he was involved in. He took her to a mission at least and didn't jail her, but the hospital wanted him to put her in jail. So here she'd be in jail and die in jail, with no one to even look at her or take care of her.
And what was the reason they wanted her to be put in jail? What was the crime she would have been committed with?
Unwanted guest. An unwanted guest in a hospital.
Oh, like she was
unwanted. Unwanted guest is what the language was. Yeah, that's what they were going to work on. Yeah. Trespassing. Unwanted guest. T. Collins, true story, and the nation is not aware about DRG deaths. They happen every day. People don't even realize it's going on, and their parent or their grandparent or their wives or their husbands, every day this is going on. Every day. Where the codes basically tell the hospital no more money, and then the hospital does something like dumps a patient, or like in David Schuster's case, they lie to the wife and tell her, he's a gork, and let him starve to death and no-code him. This Mount Sinai, and people can call, reporters can call and check. It will be well remembered because it was the only time it ever happened in all of Wisconsin. In all of Wisconsin. It may be the only time it ever happened in the country, actually. And I was able to save his life. Oh, you didn't ask. How long did he live?
Yeah, how long did he live afterwards?
Without problems?
Yes.
He completely recovered, and he lived 8 years without any problems.
Oh, my gosh.
8 years.
So,
8 years.
In my research regarding patient dumping and being in Illinois here, I keep getting this error message. Illinois has been really bad with patient dumping, but they've
Come on, you got Chicago.
Yeah,
Come on,
I lost my earbud. So, but somehow, not a lot of court cases have occurred here. If they are, they've been kind of under the table. And
no, they don't occur. They don't occur because
well, this
in
one
a community.
Go on.
Let me just tell you what happened here. There was a really aggressive attorney firm in Yakima, but they realized if they were going against the county, the fire department, all the hospitals, and what they realized they would be shut out. In other words, the courts and the judges would hear, and they wouldn't be able to get a damn case through the court system. They would probably lose their practice if they took her case. They got scared, very scared. So they were very open to it, and then it got worse because what they did is they dumped her more than once and kept telling her when they dumped her, you're dying. You're dying of small cell lung cancer. And we don't even know if it's a confirmed diagnosis. And, she could have her swelling and her congestive heart failure from them fluid overloading her and giving her narcotics when she's allergic, causing her a problem. Hold on. It's her on the phone. Hold on. Hello? This is Dr. Hufnagel. Tildra Collins is a person I'm advocating for who has been treated, yes, advocating for. I know I know her recent history, but it's not confirmed. And I was trying to transfer her to the University of Washington, to the pulmonary surgical and medical division, and I was stopped by the Virginia Mayo. I mean, they dumped her. They criminally dumped her more than once. Now, what's your name? What's your name again? Norm Hawk. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I've got to get her to Fayad, over at, you know, they didn't even do pulmonary functions on her. They didn't even have her on oxygen, you know? All right, then. Okay, okay. We've got to get her stabilized and transferred. I mean, Fayad over there, is a great surgeon trained at Sloan Kettering. It, it, you know, she was lied to. The doctor who was seeing her told her he was a pulmonary specialist, and he wasn't. He was a hospitalist. If you give me your facts, I'll send you everything I've written on it. And now that I can have your backing, you know, that they were trying to kill her because her DRGs were used up. That's the bottom line. You don't have to say, you don't have to, yeah, I know you don't doubt me, but okay, but I don't want to get you hurt or involved to get hurt. So, give me a number or a fax. I'll send you the papers. Go ahead. Sure. So she's being readmitted, and there's a guy who believes me and now believes her. He redid a CAT scan, and the mass is pushing on her pulmonary artery and other things. And these other guys, you know, we're at a rinky-dink hospital, are not going to have the best surgeons in the world. But there's this incredibly great surgeon at Washington. Go ahead. Go ahead. What is it? Mm, 4546152. I'm actually right now doing a video on the entire case, which I'll send over to Washington, and I can send to you guys so you can watch it. I mean, I'm going all the way with this to Human and Health Services, everything. Dumping, I mean, yeah, I know. I'm doing the right thing. I know that. I've done the right thing constantly, but nobody listens. Nobody does anything. Okay, let me repeat it. 509-454-6152. Okay. No, they can't dump her in the street. And she looks like she has does she have congestive heart failure also? Because hmm. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fax and work on the memorial people blocked me when I was trying to get her transported. So she could have been in better condition, you know, several days ago. They wouldn't even talk to me. They wouldn't even talk to me because they were planning on dumping her, having her die on the streets, and then nobody ever knowing the real story, you know? Vagrant, dead on streets, you know, story thing. She's probably crazy by now because of the cancer, one, but two, because of her treatment. She's been treated like total trash. No, but we're probably the only two. And I know about the case. I'm in LA, and I'm considered like an evil doctor for fighting for these issues by the establishment, because I don't care about the establishment. I care about ethics and doing the right thing. I don't care about what the big wigs who make a lot of money, and I don't care about them. But the treatment of this woman is got to be known nationally, and it has to be a national story. And God bless you, Mr. Hawk. God bless you. Okay? Cover your guy's ass, because I don't stop. I don't stop. If it's 10 years from now and I haven't gotten justice or fairness, I'll still work on this. Got it? I know. Thank you, sir. And tell her we're making the video right now. I think it's live on Facebook, and we're just doing our best. We may not be able to do all the things we want, but we're not going to give up. We're not going to stop. And I'm sorry about your losses, but guess what? I had losses too, personal losses to me for doing this stuff. You're going to be blessed because you're going to be a better person. You are a better person. You're a better person. God bless you. Thank you. This is my life. I'm like a magnet. He's just admitted her to another hospital, did a CAT scan, and what happened was their surgeons weren't qualified to operate, so they were just going to let her die. Didn't think like, come on, me versus, the local gynecologist. It's a joke, It's happening, Susan. She's near death. It's a 10-centimeter mass, a pleural effusion, cardiac, it's going to be pushing on her heart because it's aggressive. But guess what? Guess what an aggressive surgeon can do? Aggressive surgeon can go in, pull the goddamn mass off, irrigate it, antibiotics, get the pus out, clean it up, and give her a chance. Give her a chance.
How old is she?
61.
She's young.
It doesn't matter her age. It doesn't matter anything. This is a common story, and it's not told. And we just got God's grace here with this man who, he's a PA. His name is Mr. Hawk, and he admitted her, and he looked at the record, and he knows that I'm telling the truth. He's the first one to talk to me in 4 or 5 days now? 4 or 5 days. It's wrong. So I'll send over the papers and alert University of Washington. I think it'd be about a 2-hour drive if they could, put a little hole in her chest, suck off what they can, and find the best surgeon they have there to do a little bit of something just to drain, and try to get her over there in 2 hours. Maybe it's a miracle surgery, but guess what? They do exist. How many miracle surgeries have I done, you think?
Many. Thousands.
So, all right, so let's go over this story. First of all, we have the fire department screwing up across the nation. EPA's been notified. Need to follow up with EPA. so that we can control this so toxins aren't released and so cleanup happens and so that people around there, know what's going on, know what's going on. So the EPA people were fine. They were really good. They had no power over this Memorial Hospital and this other Memorial Hospital, Virginia Mayo, fancy name, place that dumped her, I think 3 times now. She went back in because she was critically ill again. They had to admit her because her condition was bad. And then they dumped her once she stabilized a little bit. They left her on the street, Susan. This is America. We got to get this to Trump. He wants to clean up stuff. We got to get it to Dr. Price, Human and Health Services. This is wrong. And I put all those studies together about LA dumping because, LA sometimes has news, but nobody took it far enough. It wasn't on 60 Minutes. It wasn't on Dateline. It wasn't on 2020. This is an important story. And it's been going on for decades. This is not like, it just happened today. We've been killing poor people of color. I mean, Black Lives Matter doesn't even know about this because they think that they're...
It's almost like a form of eugenics.
No, it's about making money for the hospital, not having losses, and then covering up. Eugenics is more like how to control them before you have them.
Right. You're right. Okay.
Before you have them. This is more like Soylent Green or any of those sci-fi things where, a whole generation of people were killed because they got to a certain age or something. These are people who are sick, and instead of taking care of them, they're dumping them to die on the street. And during all this, she had someone take her in for a night, and then what happened? Gonzalez told her. They went back to see where the couple was that took care of her. That couple stole all of her personal belongings. I mean, it's been one story after another. One story after another. 5 days I haven't slept. Or 4. Maybe it's just 4, but it seems like 2 weeks, Writing letters, sending emails, threatening people, doing whatever I can do.
Can we?
And you probably didn't... What?
Go on.
And this is probably going on, and you probably didn't even recognize it, even with the patients you're working with, because you wouldn't see it, because you'd be doing their blood stuff that they need, and then somebody discharges them, dumps them.
Well, what's interesting is I've done patients in one hospital, and then 6 months later seen them in another hospital. And I won't name hospital names, but I think there is hospital dumping going on where the doctors or the hospitals will say, okay, we're discharging you, and when you leave here, go follow up at this other hospital now. Because they don't want that patient to come back to them. They want the patient to go to another location. And it may not be a hospital location that's within their group, because the way these hospitals are formatted, I don't know what's happening in other states, but these hospitals are joining forces where it would be like a set of 3 hospitals under one name,
yeah,
and then another 4 hospitals, and now all of a sudden there's 7 hospitals all together, and they're all called something else.
The new name.
Right. Probably a whole new corporation.
Well, we'll see. I don't believe in. I haven't seen any important changes in medicine for what? Since 1996. I haven't seen anything real positive. I've seen a lot of lying and cheating. We've got the morcellation issue we're working on. Tubal ligation still an issue. I started writing about mesh this week. Mesh on men. And telling a story about the Berman sisters in Los Angeles and their involvement with bad mesh story. So hopefully that maybe the National Enquirer will cover this, or New York Times, or, you know, we need TV broadcasts and we need everything else. Okay. Yakima Regional. This is Dr. Hufnagel. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ch. Sure. Anyone. No, they wouldn't talk to me. Neither at Memorial. Let me explain right now. I'm talking to regional hospital, to a doctor there who's taking care of the patient right now. They wouldn't let me talk. They wouldn't let me talk to the doctors, and I wrote my faxes to the administration, and the administration never responded to me. I know that she had a biopsy that was small cell. I know that she told them about the toxic event. I contacted the EPA myself because sometimes cells can be messed up with mesothelioma and asbestos that can look differently and be misinterpreted. Unfortunately, we do not have the access anymore to the U.S. Army pathology. We used to have that. That was one of the things that Obama cut off. So we can't even get, world expert, the guys at the Army are like brilliant beyond belief. So I tried when she got hold of me, the first thing I did was try to transfer her to University of Washington, to the top pulmonary surgeon there. He's trained, he was a fellow at Sloan Kettering, has a great reputation, and, he's probably the best you guys got in Washington, in the whole state. And that's where she needs to be. They would not return my calls or answer my faxes. They were dumping. They dumped her. Uh-huh. Oh, I run the largest whistleblowing medical nonprofit in the world, and I fight for justice, fairness, and truth in medicine. And prior to that, I had the Center for Female Reconstructive Surgery, and I was a top surgeon for women, and operated on her twice. As a patient, and she was a compliant patient, a little flipsy, because she's an organic girl, like, I want to eat vegetables, I want to eat healthy, I don't want to do. No, I'm in Los Angeles, and okay, here's what you need to know. UC San Francisco Med School, okay, prior to that Berkeley. I was a surgeon, and now I'm a bioethicist who has surgical training. Well, she learned. My center had every surgery we did was videotaped. Family watched while we were operating. 30-page informed consent. I mean, it's what I was doing back in this 1996 was 30 years ahead then. Now I think I'm like 40. Yeah, that's her. I was her surgeon of record. She had endometriosis, I think was the last operation. Endometriosis in the pelvis. So it probably wouldn't present this way, but you know, yeah. Well, we have to go to the best there is for something like that. We have to go to the best surgeon there is. You can't go to the corner drugstore and get a surgeon for her. I'm going to send a fax, and I'm going to send an email to the head of pulmonary surgery at Washington U tonight. Her only chance is him. Well, I'm going to send you everything so you can help me and we can work together, okay, Dr. Chin? Okay, well, just put all the papers I send you in the chart and we'll keep pushing, okay? That's all we can do. Well, yeah, well, that's what they didn't even want to, everything is available and is an option, okay? Okay. Thank you, sir. Bye. At least they're talking to me. I mean, the other hospital wouldn't even talk to me. Like, how does somebody advocate for a patient? Like, why would you advocate? Was the question really. How do you know her? Why would you spend your time helping someone that you don't get paid to help? Was the underlying question. Like, why are you doing this? Pretty amazing. Any suggestions? What should I do? Or
when we first met, it was in the 90s. And I remember listening to these patient victim impacts stories. And one of the things I learned back then, and I wasn't even a nurse then, I don't think I was even a phlebotomist. I was just a victim myself. But one of the things I learned from hearing some of these victim impact stories is that you always need an advocate for you. When you're in the hospital, I even advocate for when you're going to your doctor for a pap smear. Bring a friend with you. You don't know what's going to occur behind closed doors in that office. You don't know what's going to be said to you. You don't know what's going to occur. And I think there's safety in numbers. Advocating for somebody who's in the hospital, for a friend, what you're doing right now. Doctors and hospitals need to know that there's people out there watching what they're doing and that things aren't happening behind closed doors. Things are going to be exposed when bad things happen.
Well, these are major things that are ongoing throughout the nation. This isn't just happening in Yakima. And the people that were thrown on the street in LA, it just didn't happen in LA. It happens everywhere. And it takes just one person. This physician assistant, Mr. Hawk, changed everything where she's at. His attitude towards her, and he told me, because you couldn't hear the other side side of the call that he had 2 of his family members recently die. And that has changed him too. You know, I think all the bad things that happened to me personally as a patient and to my family members, and then the way I was treated as a whistleblower, I mean, how else could I be? They created me. You know, it's like, and I was watching like the doctors today and Dr. Oz, and I mean, they're okay shows, but not really. The one thing that Oprah did was that Oprah put on. Yeah, it's all for profit.
They're not for the patient. They're for the advertisers.
Well, Oprah would call me and ask me what was the truth, and then the next thing I was on a plane. Oprah didn't care what the rest of the world thought. There's no one who's taken that kind of stance, and I'm sure she'll do some good things on 60 Minutes, but it's not enough. She was doing a lot of stuff that was very revolutionary at the time, and I don't think the public really understood it. I mean, they liked her, and they personally liked her. There was that social media crap going on, but she was actually doing change, creating change by education. Change by education. So, death by DRGs, need policies for burning by the fire departments, and we have to stop dumping. There can be no dumping. And if you don't have the best surgeon or you don't have the best facility, you need to recognize that and try to get the patient to the best place. And I sent patients on planes across the country. I had a patient, that was one case, yeah. Chicago case. It was a black woman who was a producer of a, I think it was Angel Heart was the movie, and she was a big time producer. And at Fitzer, they were going to do a hysterectomy on her. They put her, it was Robert De Niro, this is a true story, I can't make these up. Robert De Niro got her a private plane and shipped her to me. And I did her surgery, took out her big fibroid that was bleeding on her, where she was hemorrhaging to death. And she was fine. She survived and she was fine. But it was like a weird story because, you know, it was just, she was a producer and De Niro had the money and he cared and he didn't want to see her die. That was never written about. I mean, that's probably one of the best things that Robert De Niro has done in his life. I mean, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. He saved that woman so that she could have her organs, have children, survive, and not be castrated and butchered. It just came to mind, you know. There's so many stories that, you know, have been in my life like that. Angel Heart. And she probably doesn't even know what happened to me, you know, because life goes on. And he probably didn't think about it, you know, as you know, time passes, didn't realize the level of goodness and how he was fighting a lot of evil. They kept telling her, you have to have this operation right now, and we have to give you 20 units of blood and all this kind of stuff. You know. And she couldn't, you know, she wouldn't survive and she would die and all sorts of stuff. And it didn't matter because no one could do the surgery that I was doing. You know, it just was impossible to do. And I was doing it every day. 3 times a day, every day. So I was doing so much surgery that by the end of the week, I would usually have a migraine. I'd be, totally exhausted. Not from just the surgery, but the whole thing of trying to make a system work to save people's lives, to save women's uteruses, to give women choices, which today they still don't have. Choices that they should have that they don't have. I'm tired. And I've got to write these papers now.
Okay, well, let's follow up with this, and I think this is going to be a good format for exposing injustice, and I want to follow up with what's happening with this. So let's call it a night. You've got a long...
Easy for you to say. I got a long night.
You've got a long night.
Thank you, Susan. So this is an experiment. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, we'll see. The feedback
we'll see. We need help. We need support. We need change. This is not kitty cats and puppy dogs, or boobs and big smiles and faces. This is not those. What do they call those things? What is it when they take their picture?
And the selfies.
Selfies. This is not a selfie. This is no more. And that's the no more web.com is going to be the new one. And we're going to put all the no mores under it. No more dumping. No more hysterectomies. No more morcellation. You got to know more out there. You give it to us, and we're going to fight for it. Because we have a lot of work to do so that people can have a better world. And it's not going to come from, out of the sky. It's only going to come from all of us. And we have to do the work. Nobody else is going to do the work. No one else is going to do it. Well, thank you, Susan. Let's be strong at this time. That's what my daughter gave me. It's in hieroglyphics. And what it means is be strong at this time. It was found in ancient Egypt. And they actually had a prayer that they did about being strong. So be strong. Better than being weak. Better than doing selfies. I'm bad. I know that, but I'm not going to change. Oh, one more thing. I'm using the word shit in my writing now. Did you read that yet?
Not yet.
Okay, what I'm doing is that shit means to find something abominable, to see something as just it's a noun and an adverb and a verb, and its use has not been used properly. It's like the behavior of this hospital, Virginia Mayo Memorial, is shit. It's abominable. It's disgusting. It's incredulous. It's criminal. So I decided that I can use that word because it's better than using some of the other words. And it really does, by definition, if you read the definition, means that something is just, it's not fecal matter. It's about a whole state of being, about being just terrible. And I think it comes down to being evil. Being evil. And choosing to be evil. Choosing to be evil. The choice to be evil. Nighty night.
Okay, good night.
Night. I'll, I'll have more papers to send you in the morning. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.